A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry of the Circus. For Jerry of the Circus.
Hello, Jerry.
Oh, good morning, Uncle Dan.
Hello, Rags, old fella. You're kind of glad to see me, too, aren't you?
Sure he is. And I guess that goes for almost everybody with the circus.
Oh, I did get a grand welcome, and it's good to be back, Jerry.
Come on, sit down on the steps here.
Huh, this all you have to do?
Uh-huh. Until matinee.
Oh, that's right. You're a performer now. Say, where's Bumps?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen him since breakfast. I guess he's around in one of the other wagons visiting. Maybe with Slats and Hooligan. Why?
Oh, no special reason. I was just wondering where he was.
Uncle Dan.
Yes, Jerry?
Well, I guess it's none of my business, but, well...
Come on, out with it. What's on your mind?
Well, I was just going to ask you if you're ever going back hunting wild animals.
Why did you hesitate asking me that? After all, Jerry, you and I are pretty close. We're the last of the Dugans, you know.
Well, are you?
You mean going back to the jungle?
Yeah.
Yes, I want to, Jerry. I want to very much. I've already sent some letters off to a few zoos asking them if they're in the market for any jungle beasts.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Then as soon as you get some orders for lions and tigers and animals like that, you'll be starting off to Africa, huh?
Well, there's a little bit more to it than that, Jerry. It's not quite that easy.
Well, what else is there to do? You just got to pack up what you need and leave.
I only wish it was that simple, Jerry. You know, taking an expedition into the jungle requires months of planning and preparation.
Gee, it does, huh?
Yes, sir. It's a big job. It's not like taking a train ride across the country.
Oh, I know that. I suppose you have to buy certain things and take along and figure how long you're going to stay and everything.
And that's it exactly. That's what takes the time. But time is not the only factor. You must remember it takes plenty of money.
Gee, I never thought of that.
That should have been your first thought. The equipment, such as traps, ammunition, food supplies, and clothing, run into thousands of dollars, let alone the transportation costs, which amount to thousands more.
Maybe you could get a loan from somebody if you promised to give them the money back when you sold the animals you brought back.
Well, that's about the only thing I can do, Jerry. But the big problem is to find someone with enough money to go into a big deal of that.
No, what, Rag?
Oh, it's Bumps, Jerry.
Oh, hiya, Bob.
Well, hello there.
Where you been?
Oh, just been over talking to Jim Bennett. You got to keep on friendly terms with the paymaster, you know. How are you, Dan?
Fine, Bumps, fine.
Oh, and Rags, old boy, didn't mean to slight you. Well, how's it seem to be back, Dan?
Just like coming home, Bumps.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about the circus. About the only home I've ever known.
What did Jim Bennett have to say? He usually has the latest news when anything is happening.
Gee, now, I'm glad you reminded me. I heard something pretty fine.
You did? What is it?
Yeah, sit down and tell us about it. There's room for one more here on the steps.
Don't mind if I do. When you get along to my age, sitting down's a lot better than standing. Why, It's about Patsy.
What about her?
Well, now, wait just a minute, Jerry. Not so fast. It seems that she's come in with some very fine luck.
Good for her.
Yep. Seems her godmother or some distant aunt or something, I didn't get it straight, but whoever it was, left Patsy a good-sized fortune.
Why?
Yep, that's what Jim tells me. He said some fellow from some law firm got in touch with Patsy to make sure she was the right person.
Well, that sounds like they mean business.
Yep, she signed some papers, and she's to sign some more when we get to Harper City. That's where the law firm that's handling the case is located.
We play Harper City pretty soon, don't we?
Yeah, just a few more towns up the line.
How much money will she get, Bumps?
Well, Jim didn't seem to know that. As a matter of fact, the fellow didn't tell Patsy exactly, except that it amounted to several or many $1,000s.
Lucky girl. We'll have an heiress among us now.
Yeah, she stays with the circus, but with all that money, it's hard to say what she'll do.
Oh, I don't think Patsy's the kind to let that go to her head. Besides, she's very much like us. The circus is in her blood. Why, she wouldn't be happy anywhere else on earth.
I guess you're right there, Bumps.
I wonder what I'd do if I got a lot of money.
Why, you'd loan it to your uncle so he could go out on a big game expedition.
That's right. You're not fooling, I would. That's just what I'd do.
Atta boy, Jerry.
Oh, hiya, Jason.
Well, hello, Jason.
Morning. Hello, Dan.
Good morning, Jason.
Well, now, what's up? Why the long face? Boy, you look like you just lost your last friend.
You do look kind of sad. Hey, what's the matter?
Oh, it's nothing.
Oh, come on now, don't try to fool us. You're not your cheerful self this fine morning.
It's just one of those days, Bumps.
Oh, say, did you hear about your girlfriend? Did you hear about Patsy having all that good luck?
Yeah, I just heard about it from Bennett.
Jim must be telling everybody in the circus. He's probably more excited than Patsy is.
Well, you don't seem very happy about it, Jason.
Oh, I'm happy for Patsy. Naturally, I would be. I think it's great. But sometimes money makes a... Oh, well, let's not talk about it.
Jason, how are your animals? I haven't had a chance to get over and see them as yet.
Well, fine, Dan. I haven't got a bad cat in the lot.
You wouldn't be in the market for a couple of rare Bengal tigers, would you?
Not this season, but I might next year. Why?
Oh, Uncle Dan has taken orders, so if he goes to Africa, he can get you the animals you need.
Figuring on going out after big game?
That's about all, Jason. Just figuring on.
Oh, you'll get back in your stride again, Dan. Just takes time, that's all.
I'd sure like to go with you, if you ever go back to Africa.
You would, huh?
Uh-huh.
Well, Jerry, I don't think that would be the place for a boy.
It's pretty strenuous, Jerry.
Oh, I don't care. I bet I wouldn't be afraid.
Takes more than just bravery. Takes strength and lots of it.
You said something there, Bumps. It's no cinch plodding through swamps day after day, sometimes shoulder deep, then running out of fresh water and hoping to find more, then trekking across hot sand with the sun beating down until you think you can't stand it another hour.
Is it that bad?
And then some, Jerry.
Oh, I don't care. I'd still like to go.
Oh, well, there's a boy for you.
I don't blame you, Jerry. I think it'd be pretty exciting, too.
Exciting and interesting. Especially watching those big wild animals being trapped and captured.
I'll bet you'd pitch right in and help, wouldn't you?
Sure I would.
Well, sir, if I were going on a big game hunt, I'd take you along, Jerry.
Really?
Sure I would. With your enthusiasm, you should be valuable.
Hey, now, wait a minute, Jason. You're not putting me on a spot, are you?
What do you mean, Dan?
Jerry won't take no for an answer after what you said.
Well, when you get ready to sail away to Africa, you just put in 2 reservations. One for Jerry and the other for me.
Whoopee, we got our reservations made.
Oh, you'll have to get going now, Dan. You've got part of your crew together already.
Kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
Well, it's fun talking about it anyway.
That's right, Jerry. But as for me, I've done enough talking. I've got things to attend to. See y'all later. So long.
Goodbye, Jason.
All
So
right,
long, Jason.
So long. Say, you know, Dan, I've never seen Jason so glum. He's usually so cheerful.
Yeah, he did seem as though something was bothering him.
And did you notice how he looked when you talked about Patsy getting that money?
Yeah, that's it.
What's that?
I'll
Bump?
bet a cookie to a donut that it's because Patsy's going to get that money. That's what's ailing him.
I should think he'd be very happy about it.
Why, sure. He likes Patsy so much, he should be glad for her.
Oh, he's most likely glad for her, but he's thinking of himself.
I don't believe I get you,
Well,
Bump.
sir, Jason is an odd fella. He's very independent, and he's a little headstrong. I think the thing that's worrying him is the fact that he doesn't want Patsy to think he's a fortune hunter.
Oh.
Oh, he ought to know Patsy better than that.
Some fellas are funny that way, all right.
Yeah, I'll venture to say that's what's the matter with him. He thinks if he keeps on showing attention to Patsy, she'll think he's after her money.
No, he's wrong if he thinks that. Patsy likes him too much.
Say now, how come you know so much about Patsy and Jason? You're not playing Cupid by any chance?
No, but, well, anybody can see that. He always sends her flowers and treats her real nice and everything.
Well, I'd say you were very observant, Jerry.
Well, it's foolish to talk about it. Patsy hasn't got the money yet, and two, it might only turn out to be a couple of $100.
Why, sure. It'll all work out.
Oh, say, that reminds me. Work. I've got to get to work, and right now. I didn't realize how much time we've spent here just talking.
Well, what are you going to do?
Oh, I've got to get busy and find some way of saving Mr. Randall some money. I told him I would find something around the lot that could be improved upon.
Well, you got a job on your hands, Dan. Just about everything around the circus has been improved upon for years. And I'm inclined to think things are running pretty smooth. Yes, sir, just about letter perfect.
And you figure the same as Mr. Randall does, huh, Bumps? But nevertheless, I'm going to try.
Oh, efficiency expert Dan Dugan.
Yep, that's me. You know, Mr. Randall promised me a new suit of clothes for everything I brought to his attention that would save the circus money.
That's sure worth trying for.
I'll say it is, Jerry, especially the way I need clothes right now. I could do with a new suit of clothes.
Oh, I've got an idea you can look into. Might be something to it.
What's that, Bumps?
Well, now, just came to my mind, Dan. I heard some time back that Jack Hastings, that's our publicity man.
Yeah, I know.
Well, sir, it seems that Jack Hastings has been having some trouble with the passes that we give out for the use of window space in stores.
Mm-hmm.
For advertising.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know they gave away passes for that.
Oh, sure thing, Jerry. Every time you see one of those window cards in a store window, you can bet whoever owns that store or is in charge got a couple of general admission tickets to the show.
Well, what's the trouble, Bumps?
Well, it seems that they give out quite a few passes, and, well, the folks that have got them, they get down to the circus early and they get in, and then there's often a lot of cash customers that can't get seats.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that is bad. And Mr. Randall's losing money there, all right.
Well, now, there's something for you to work on. Maybe you can figure out some kind of a system to take care of that situation.
Oh, that ought to be easy, Uncle Dan.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, Jerry. But if it was so simple, it would have been remedied long ago.
Oh, of course, it's only fair that folks should get the passes to the show for the use of their windows, and it's good advertising for us.
Yes, it is, Bumps. It's a good idea. I guess every circus in the business has been using that system for years.
But I don't see why folks that want to buy tickets should be turned down, though. Well, just because the folks that got in free took up all the seats.
That's the problem, Jerry. And your Uncle Dan is going to get to work on it right away. Thanks, Bumps, very much for giving me the tip.
Oh, I'm glad to do it, Dan. And I hope you figure out something, too.
If you can figure out a way that the cash customers won't be turned down and still the folks with passes won't lose out either, then you'll have it solved.
It's just as easy as that, eh, Jerry?
No, I mean, well, that's what you have to do.
Yes, that's the trick.
And then you'll get the new suit of clothes.
Oh, see, how about making the passes just good for the matinee?
Oh, now let's see. No, Bumps, I don't think that would be so good. It really wouldn't be fair.
Oh, why not? The show's the very same whether it's a matinee or at night.
Sure, but they'll see the same show, but folks that work in stores, they can't get away during the day to see the show.
That's right, Dan. Didn't look at it that way.
You sure think of everything.
Well, I hope you're right, Jerry. I hope I can think of some way of overcoming this little bit of trouble. I've got to show Mr. Randall that I'm going to be of some value to him.
Well, here's wishing you luck.
Yep, good luck to you, Dan.
The psalmist said, "When I awake, I am still with thee." For the child of God, seeking the presence of the Lord is essential as each day begins. To help you in starting this day with God, we offer a brief devotional meditation from morning and evening, a collection from the pen of one of the greatest preachers of all time, Charles Haddon Spurgeon. Our text for this morning is found in Micah chapter 5 and verse 4. He shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord. Christ's reign in his church is that of a shepherd king. He has supremacy, but it is the superiority of a wise and tender shepherd over his needy and loving flock. He commands and receives obedience, but it is the willing obedience of the well-cared-for sheep, rendered joyfully to their beloved shepherd, whose voice they know so well. He rules by the force of love and the energy of goodness. His reign is practical in its character. It is said, he shall stand and feed. The great head of the church is actively engaged in providing for his people. He does not sit down upon the throne in empty state, or hold a scepter without wielding it in government. No, he stands and feeds. The expression feed in the original is like an analogous one in the Greek, which means to shepherdize, to do everything expected of a shepherd, to guide, to watch, to preserve, to restore, to tend, as well as to feed. His reign is continual in its duration. It is said, he shall stand and feed, not he shall feed now and then and leave his position, not he shall one day grant a revival and the next day leave his church to barrenness. His eyes never slumber, and his hands never rest. His heart never ceases to beat with love, and his shoulders are never weary of carrying his people's burdens. His reign is effectually powerful in its action. He shall feed in the strength of Jehovah. Wherever Christ is, there is God. And whatever Christ does is the act of the Most High. Oh, it is a joyful truth to consider that he who stands today representing the interests of his people is very God of very God, to whom every knee shall bow. Happy are we who belong to such a shepherd, whose humanity communes with us, and whose divinity protects us. Let us worship and bow down before him as the people of his pasture. This meditation was taken from Morning and Evening by C.H. Spurgeon. Please listen each morning at this same time for Morning and Evening.
The greatest story ever told. This afternoon we present No Room at the Inn, the first of two Christmas season dramas about the birth of that child who was to live the greatest life ever lived. It was a bad time. The heavy hand of Caesar was on the people. In the towns and the cities, there was fear in the air. Even far from the towns and cities, there was uneasiness. High up in the hills of Judea, two shepherds stood watch over their flocks. And even amid the green hills, there was no peace. Not in the soft sound of the sheep, nor in the rustling sound of the light wind as it set the leaves and grasses to gentle trembling. Now, the shepherds look beyond their flocks and down into the valley. And what they see sets fear stirring in their hearts. Finally, one of them raises his crook staff to point toward the valley,
And he says anxiously, Jonathan, a cloud of dust. The whole valley is a cloud of dust.
Yes. And the dust rises as though it were stirred by many hooves and many feet.
It comes from the road. Is that what you meant to say, Jonathan?
Yes, Daniel.
Then you think as I do.
If you mean it looks like armies are on the move, yes, I think the same.
Perhaps we should go further up into the hills.
To save the sheep?
Yes. When war comes, who is it feeds Caesar's army? We do. The sheep and the lambs we risk our lives to protect are torn from our arms by Roman soldiers.
If it is an army down there, we should move up into the hills. But I don't think it is.
What else can it be?
Do you see the glinting of shiny steel or silver? Do you see spears glistening in the sun?
No, but then there's so much dust.
I thought of that, too. The dust might obscure the shiny metal. But there's something else missing, too.
What?
The sound of trumpets. Do Romans ever move in silence? No. They want the whole world to know and hear and tremble at the sound of their trumpets. Yet we hear nothing.
Strange. An army that would move in silence.
So it may not be an army at all.
It must be. I think we should lead the sheep further up into the hills. Why run the risk?
Yet, why disturb the ewes so close to giving birth to their lambs, unless there's good reason? We must do what's best for the sheep. I shall go down there.
Down there? It could be dangerous.
I shall go down and see what this strange thing is.
Then stay out of sight. Keep away from Caesar's men. Human life means nothing to them. And try to be back before dark.
I'll try. Don't worry, Daniel. I'll be back. Daniel! You wouldn't believe it. No, Daniel, you wouldn't.
It is an army that moves silently, then.
No, not an army at all. Unless women and children and tired old men with feet dusty and bleeding from the hard road are an army.
Women? Children? What are you talking about?
Yes, that's what it is. That cloud of dust you see now is our people, moving as in a terrified sleep, stunned, all of them, rooted up from their homes and sent out on the road.
Where are they taking them? To another land?
No, they must go back and be counted.
Counted? For what?
For the census. It's Caesar's order. Everyone must go back to the place where he was born, and his wife and children must go with him.
It's the law. Whole families sent out on the road that way?
Yes. That's the cloud of dust down there.
How could they do it? Children, old men and women, torn from their homes.
If it were only the children and the old, it would be bad enough.
What do you mean?
When I first saw it, I felt a choking in my throat. I thought of what we had said, of how we'd decided not to move the sheep because the ewes were ready to drop their young. Well, Caesar thinks less of people than we do of our sheep.
You mean women close to giving birth are down there, too? I don't believe it.
It's true. The first one I saw was a woman, strong and healthy. But then came another one. Sweet of face and frail. Seated on a donkey she was, and a tall man held the reins and guided the donkey gently around a rock here and a stone there, so that the animal wouldn't stumble and the young woman wouldn't be disturbed.
That's good. Her discomfort must have been bad enough as it was.
I don't know.
Jonathan.
There was something in her face, a glow of peace and contentment which seemed to radiate even through the dust and the noise and the crying of children. Her time was near, but there was no fear in her, no sign of pain or suffering.
That's strange.
I thought so, too. I looked at her for a long time, a very long time. She was already gone. Other faces crowded past me in the dusty air. Yet I remembered hers. Till the sound and the turmoil drowned out the moment of calm that came and went with her. That's when I turned and started to climb back up the hill.
Jonathan, you talk so strangely.
Do I?
Yes.
I don't know, Daniel. I never felt this way before.
It must have been the effect of what you saw.
Yes. It was all so strange.
Imagine. People herded like cattle. How long can it go on? How long? We were promised a Savior. Where is he? We were promised deliverance. Where is that? Must we be ground under the heel of Caesar forever? The sheep we raise are now our own. They are Caesar's whenever it pleases him to say the word. What kind of world is that? If the Savior is ever to come, it must be soon, else it will be too late. Jonathan, are you listening to me?
What?
Jonathan. Here, look at me. What is it?
I was thinking of her. The woman on the donkey. I found myself worrying about her. Where will she spend this night? I was wondering about that.
Rebecca, come, my dear, away from the door. Haven't we had enough of travelers trying to stop at this inn and no room for them?
I wonder where they've all gone.
Who knows? The camp in the fields outside the town, most likely.
Whoever thought so many of them would come back here to Bethlehem?
When Caesar orders, the whole world moves.
If our inn were larger, we could have given more of them shelter. The little ones, their eyes heavy with sleep, clutching so desperately to the hands of their mothers and fathers. It's the little ones my heart goes out to.
Rebecca, you mustn't get to thinking about children again. You know it comes only to tears each time.
Yes, Ezra. I know.
Then come inside. Let me lock the door, so no more travelers can beg for a night's shelter and be turned away. People must think there's no heart in an innkeeper, that he likes to turn travelers away. The look in their eyes, I feel like a criminal. So come. Besides, you're tired. You need the rest.
Not yet, Ezra.
Not yet? Sounds as though you're waiting for something. Or for someone.
No. It's the stars.
The stars?
Yes. Look up at them.
Well, what are the stars?
Don't you see?
See? Rebecca, what is it?
Tonight the stars are different.
Different? How?
They are. They just are, that's all.
Please, Rebecca, you frighten me when you talk that way.
I'm not frightened. The heavens seem peaceful somehow. And brighter.
Perhaps in times like these, there's peace only in the heavens. But come, Rebecca, let me lock the door before we're besieged by travelers again.
In a little while.
But you're tired. Tomorrow you'll have to rise early again to feed more guests than we've ever had before. It's only you I'm thinking of.
Then let me watch a little while longer.
There's always time to watch the stars. Another night.
They won't look the same, Ezra. Never the same.
Please, Rebecca, don't talk that way.
It's true.
Rebecca, come in before... There, you see, travelers. Now they'll curse me out for being greedy, as though I have room and deliberately withhold it.
Can you see them? How many are there?
One bell is one donkey. A man leads it. There's a woman on it. Come, Rebecca, there may still be time for us...
Keeper. Friend, is that you standing in the doorway?
See, Rebecca, he'll ask for room, but there is no room. Yes, I'm the innkeeper. What is it?
Do you have room for 2 tired travelers?
Room? All Judea would like to sleep in my little inn this night. There is no room. None at all. Our own bed is given over to travelers. We must sleep on a handful of straw in the kitchen.
Please, sir. I wouldn't ask again except that we need a place. Any place. Any place where my wife could find shelter from the night air and the dampness of early morning. I wouldn't ask except that... Well, draw near, and you can see for yourself.
What do you mean?
Ezra, wait. I can see. Ezra, we must make room for her.
But where? You know as well as...
Wait, Ezra, there is room. A dry place and warm, too.
What?
Yes, Ezra. The stable.
The stable?
Even that will do, if it is sheltered. And please, there is no time left. No time.
Well, of course you may use the stable. There's fresh straw there. You can make a bed for her.
Straw? Ezra, she must lie on linen. Fresh linen.
Linen? In the stable?
She should lie on linen, fresh and clean and soft. A woman needs every little comfort we might give her in a time like this. Please, Ezra.
Yes, Rebecca. The finest linen we possess.
Come, my dear. I shall see your maid comfortable. Come.
Your wife is a fine woman, innkeeper.
Yes, a fine woman. Of good heart. And always giving. And every child which is born hereabout is her child. You see, friend, we have none of our own.
I understand.
So Rebecca takes her joy in the children of others.
Perhaps it was meant to be in just this way.
What did you say, friend?
It was something you might not understand now. But please, don't call me friend in that friendless way. My name is Joseph.
Jonathan, do you sleep yet?
No, Daniel.
It's still in your mind, isn't it? What you saw down there by the road this afternoon.
Yes. When I close my eyes, I see those tired people struggling along that road. So I can't close them. I can only keep them open and stare up at the heavens, at the blue sky and the stars. Just look up there, Daniel. The heavens. Such blue should be silk and velvet, gracing the fairest woman who ever lived.
Perhaps it does.
Daniel, what did you mean by that?
I don't know. It was though I had spoken with the voice of someone else.
Then you must feel it, too.
Yes. Since you've come back, everything has seemed to be different.
And yet, it isn't. It can't be. Why, look up at the heavens. This night is like any other. The stars, each in its place, the sky, the blue of the season. The sheep here, content and drowsy. Why should it seem different to her? Daniel.
Yes, Jonathan?
The sky, it's not the same. A new star. A new light. There, you see?
New light?
Jonathan. Such a light as this, I've never seen before. Daniel. Daniel.
Here
heard it too, a voice from out of the heavens.
Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord.
Savior?
And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace toward men of good will.
Daniel, the heavens are opening.
Manger. I heard the voice say it. Manger. You heard it too. Savior.
Manger. The city of David.
Wait, Jonathan. Perhaps it didn't happen. How can we be sure?
It came from the heavens in a voice few men have ever heard before. How can we doubt it?
Would the word of God come to us? Lowly shepherds who tend a flock in the hills?
Think. What was David once but a shepherd boy? And didn't God touch him and make him great among men, a king over our people? So that now the very Bethlehem that lies below us in the valley is known as the city of David. The voice came to a shepherd before. This night it has come again.
It did happen before.
Then we must go and see. We must find him. Now, at once.
Find him? Where? How? Do we go through the city crying out in the dead of night, "Is a child born here?" How many babes are born this night in Bethlehem? How could we find the one child out of all of them?
And this shall be a sign unto you. You shall find the babe lying in a manger. Come, Daniel, come. We must find that child.
Who goes there?
Sentry, we are two shepherds come out of the hills.
Shepherds, eh? Come forward and stand in the light of this torch. Now, what do you want in Bethlehem?
We seek a child.
Child? At this hour of night? You're daft. You there.
Yes, sir.
If this lad's your friend, take care of him. He needs looking after.
Sir, may we enter the town?
I don't know if I should let you. But then you might as well. It seems half the world's inside these gates already. Go on in. But mind you, no disturbance, no trouble.
Jonathan, please. The sentry will come after us if we keep disturbing people. We've tried so many places already.
We must find the child.
Who is it out there?
Tell us, woman, is there a child here? A newborn child?
Why do you come here?
We seek a child, newborn.
Newborn? How did you know? What do you want with a child?
Does it lie in a manger?
In a manger? Are you out of your senses? Pity the child so poor it must lie in a manger. Now go, be on your way.
What is it? If you seek room here, there is none. There's been no room in this inn since early evening. Please go away.
Wait, innkeeper. We didn't come asking for room, but seeking a child. A newborn child.
Be on your way.
There is no child here? Newborn and lying in a manger?
Who are you?
Only shepherds come out of the hills.
Ezra? What is it, Ezra? Is there trouble?
Rebecca, these two men here, they say they're shepherds who come seeking a child which lies in a manger.
Of course.
What do you mean?
The woman in the stable. Her child. It would lie in a manger.
There. You see, innkeeper. Now, where is the child? Where?
Go round to the side, sir. To the stable. There you'll find the child.
Come, Daniel. Come. Thank you, woman.
Rebecca, how did they know? It's so strange.
Everything has changed this night. Everything. When I saw the stars, I felt it. When I saw her, I knew it.
This time, Daniel. This time we find the child.
You knocked, friend?
Sir, a child. Newborn. Is he here?
By the grace of God.
Daniel, did you hear the words the man spoke?
I heard.
Sir, tell us. Does he lie in a manger?
Yes, my friend.
Then we must see him. We must. Please, let us in.
Yes. But quietly. For the child's sake. And for her sake, too.
So this is the mother. Blue should be silken velvet, gracing the fairest woman who ever lived.
It's what you said before, Jonathan.
Daniel, the woman I saw before who inspired those words. This is she. And this is the child. Only shepherds, yet we are first to see the child. The Savior.
You know this, too?
How? It came to us in a voice from heaven, out there on the hillside in the dead of night. This is he, the Savior, born in the city of David, lying in a manger.
All this a voice told you.
All this and more. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace toward men of good will.
Mary, did you hear?
Oh, good lady, I've said nothing to make you weep.
Friend, some tears are good to weep.
Jonathan, so much has happened this night. So much. We must go and tell them. Tell them all. Come, Jonathan, come.
First, we must kneel and adore him. Look at him. Was there ever such a child as this? Daniel, we shall pray. Go, friend, to tell everyone of the great thing which has happened. Peace be to you both, and to the child, for all his life. Farewell, my friend.
Mary. Mary, did you hear? They knew. Now everyone will know. And the words, Mary, the words the angel spoke. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace toward men of goodwill.
The Coming of John the Baptist.
Speak ye to the heart of Jerusalem, and call to her. Thou that bringest good tidings to Zion, lift up thy voice with strength. Thou that bringest good tidings to Jerusalem, lift it up, fear not. Say to the cities of Judea, behold, your God.
Now the time was the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Herod Antipas was tetrarch of Galilee, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas, when Pontius Pilate was but recently come as procurator of Judea, bringing with him by special permission of Tiberius his wife, Claudia Procula.
Pontius, will you be busy this morning?
Well, I may be, Claudia. Why do you ask?
I must discuss the refurnishing of the palace. Valerius has let everything go to ruin.
Well, if you can get along on what we have for a while until I
Pontius, we must have artisans to make repairs at once. We need rugs, couches, draperies.
It will take a great deal of money, and right now I don't have it.
Then borrow it.
Borrow? Don't you understand that one reason for asking for this assignment was to escape my creditors in Rome?
Yes, Pontius. But don't you realize how a magnificent palace reflects you? It will impress people with your position.
Yes, I realize that, Claudia, even more than you. You may be sure I'll take care of the palace as soon as I can raise the money.
And when will that be?
Well, not too long. Before Valerius left, he opened my eyes to the wealth of the Jews and the ways and means of filling my own coffers. So be patient for a while. Soon you'll have all the luxuries of Rome and more. Then instead of having local artisans do the repairs, you can go to Damascus for what we need.
Damascus? Oh, Pontius, that will be wonderful.
And once the palace is fitted out, it becomes my position and we can entertain. You won't mind this country so much.
To be truthful, Pontius, I don't dislike it now as when we first came. There's something mysterious and haunting about these people and their religion. And an expectancy, as if they're waiting for something, have been waiting for centuries and could go on forever.
Yes, waiting for one thing.
And what is that?
The day Rome will no longer rule them. These petty tribes and nations hate each other, and the factions hate each other. But they have one thing in common. They all hate Rome. Tiberius rules them by balancing greed and hate of one faction against the other. In fact, Caiaphas, the leader of one powerful faction, is coming this morning.
Caiaphas? Isn't he the one called the high priest?
Yes.
Now, what is he? A Pharisee?
No, he's a Sadducee. They happen to control the priesthood. Have for several decades.
Well, how do you tell a Pharisee from a Sadducee?
Not by looking at them. They differ primarily on concept of law. The Sadducees insist on strict adherence to the written law. The Pharisees insist that the oral laws, traditions, sayings of the wise men and the scribes take precedence over the written law.
Who are the scribes?
Men who spend their lives learning the laws, oral and written, and interpreting them. They're lawyers, really, and very important. No Jew dare sneeze unless in a manner legalized by the scribes. What is it, Claudia?
Pontius, there are a lot of strange-looking people entering the courtyard.
Oh, well, that would be Caiaphas and the delegation.
Well, why do they stand there? Why don't they come further?
They say they defiled themselves by entering the house of a non-Jew.
Will I meet them?
Oh, indeed not. Some of these leaders are so fanatical they shut their eyes and turn their heads to the wall to avoid looking at a woman.
And is that in their laws? I certainly don't think so.
Well, I mustn't keep them waiting, Claudia. And after I'm through with them, we'll go over the palace and see what is needed to put it in condition. High priest, let's understand each other from the first. My duties here are simple. Keep peace, improve the country, and collect the taxes for Tiberius.
May I remind you that Judea is not a simple country.
Yes, so Valerius advised me. But mind you, I'll carry out my duties regardless of any opposition.
Be assured there'll be no trouble. No doubt Valerius told you it is the policy of the Sanhedrin, our governing body, to get along with Rome.
It's only because you need Rome to keep your priestly family in power. But we... Well, now, don't pretend to me that the Jews have any love for Rome.
You must consider our history. The Jews have always fought for independence, but without success. Some great power always overcame us. We realize that we cannot win against Caesar, nor do we wish to try. He has given us good government and peace for the most part.
Have the Jews given Caesar peace in return? Valerius informed me that any fanatic can collect a following against Rome.
We, too, deplore these agitators, but they always come out of Galilee, where Herod Antipas rules and try to stir up trouble in Judea.
Yes, I know that game. That's beside the point. What I want to know is, why can any fanatic from Galilee raise a following in Judea? Why do you permit it?
Judea is filled with isolated retreats where people can gather without being detected.
Granted. But the question still is, why are the people so easily persuaded to gather and cause trouble?
Again, you must consider our history, our traditions, our religious beliefs.
Such as?
All Jews believe that someday a deliverer will arise to restore the ancient power and glory of our people. It has been promised us by God.
Do you believe it, High Priest?
I am a Jew. However, do not be uneasy, Procurator. The learned men agree the time of our deliverance is far off. Some of them reason that the promise does not apply to this life, but to that which comes after a man is dead.
A very sensible view. But how about the ignorant, unlearned people who gather in these isolated retreats in Judea?
I am afraid, Procurator, the ordinary Jew, the farmer, the fisherman, and the like, sees the future differently. The more he is taxed by the conqueror, the more he looks for and hopes for a deliverer. Perhaps that's why these agitators are so successful.
And this deliverer, who is it to be?
He will be called the Messiah.
And how will he be recognized?
The ancient scriptures have informed us. Before the Messiah appears himself, a messenger will be sent to prepare the way.
This is all very interesting, Caiaphas. Now, some unscrupulous adventurer could use this legend to his own advantage.
Oh, a number have tried in the past. But you may be sure we know how to deal with a false Messiah.
Well, I would like assurance from you, Caiaphas, that this Messiah will not arrive during my term of office.
Rest at ease, Procurator. He will not arrive during my lifetime or yours. But even as Caiaphas spoke, travelers along the ancient Jordan saw a man, wild in appearance, dressed in garments of camel's hair like the prophets of old, and with a leather girdle about his loins. He stood at the crossing of the Jordan and lifted his voice to all who passed.
Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
If a hen lay an egg on the Sabbath, you must not eat it. That is the law.
Who cares when the egg was laid? And how does the hen know it's the Sabbath? Is that all you scribes have to do, watch chickens laying eggs?
Speak civilly to your better soldier, or you will find yourself in trouble.
Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. My betters, is it? The only thing you can better me at is in splitting a hair. Before long, a man will have to run to you scribes to find out if it's proper to breathe on the Sabbath. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Wait, what's that?
Over there, that wild-looking fellow's calling out.
What did you say?
Do penance, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You hear that, scribe? Who is that fellow? I've never seen him before.
Come. We haven't time to listen to every half-crazed hermit. Got to get on to Jerusalem.
Repent! Do penance! For the kingdom of heaven is at hand!
But many stopped to listen to the strange man, and then passed on. But the words lingered in their minds, and they spoke the words to others. They went out to him all the country of Jordan, and all they of Jerusalem. Common people came with hope in their hearts, and the scribes, and the Pharisees, and the Sadducees came, for they would test this man.
Silence! Fellow, you speak of things beyond your intelligence. I doubt if you know anything of the law, but we'll find out. Now tell me this. If a hen lays an egg on the Sabbath, is it lawful to eat it?
Go away, scribe! Split hairs in Jerusalem! We want to hear this man!
Yes. Master, to be saved, what must we do? Be baptized! Do penance! For the remission of sins! For the kingdom of heaven is at hand!
But we are of Abraham!
Brood of vipers! Who has shown you how to flee from the wrath to come? Bring fruits, therefore, befitting repentance, and do not begin to say, we have Abraham for our father. For I say to you, God is able out of these stones to raise up children of Abraham. For even now the axe is laid at the root of the trees. Every tree, therefore, that is not bringing forth fruit is to be cut down and thrown into the fire. Master, what must we do? Well, Master, what then are we to do? Let him who has 2 tunics share with him who has none, and let him who has food do likewise.
We who are tax collectors, what are we to do?
Exact no more. And what has been appointed you? And we who are soldiers, what are we to do? Plunder no one, accuse no one falsely, and be content with your pay.
Can this be the one? The Messiah, our deliverer?
I indeed baptize you with water. But one mightier than I is coming. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. His winnowing fan is in his hand, and he will clean out the threshing floor and will gather the wheat into his barn. But the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire.
I've listened to a lot of these fellows, but none ever spoke as does this man. Who can he be?
He speaks of a greater to come. He makes no claim to being the Messiah.
Fellow, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is John. I come from out wilderness.
I don't know who he is, but he speaks with authority. I'm asking to be baptized.
So am I. So am I.
And the news spread of this strange, wild-looking man who called out at the crossing of the Jordan. And people flocked to him from the cities of Judea and Transjordan and beyond, even unto Nazareth in Galilee.
Jesus, I've come for my chair. Is it finished?
Yes. Over there.
I'd have come sooner, but I was delayed at the crossing. Jesus, I was baptized. There was a man, his name is John, standing at the crossing, and he was calling out to all who passed by, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." He was dressed in a garment of camel's hair, and how he spoke, not like the scribes reciting the law, but like the prophets of old. And such was the authority of his voice that all stopped and listened, and many were baptized. But, Jesus, what is it? Why do you take off your apron? Where are you going?
To the crossing.
And Jesus walked toward the crossing, where John was preaching to the crowds. And the spies from Jerusalem listened, and sent their reports to Caiaphas and Pilate.
Pontius, what's that paper over which you frown?
A report from Joseph, my informant. I sent him to check on a fellow called John the Baptist.
And who is John the Baptist?
According to Joseph, he's a half-clad, half-starved, and half-crazed hermit who's telling the Jews the great time they've been waiting for has arrived. Sounds like one of those against whom Valerius warned.
Surely he's not fool enough to challenge Rome.
Well, this will amuse you. John's telling the Jews, in order to be worthy of the great day, they must humble themselves and confess their sins. I can just see old Annas and Caiaphas and the rest of that stiff-necked crowd humbling themselves at the command of some ragged fanatic. Well, just the same, Joseph writes that everyone's poised and waiting for something to happen if this fellow proclaims himself the appointed one.
What will you do?
Well, that's the problem. Sure as I arrest him, Caiaphas will tell the people I've silenced some poor Jew for nothing more than preaching their religion. Oh, well, listen to this. About 30 years ago, it was rumored some mysterious child born in Bethlehem was a threat to the throne of Herod the Great. He was so concerned that he ordered every child in Bethlehem aged 2 or less put to death.
How horrible.
Now, writes Joseph, the rumors crop up again. And some say there is a connection between the event of 30 years ago and John the Baptist. John is just the right age for it. Well, that settles it. I must act.
You'll arrest John?
No, not if I can avoid it. I shall write to Caiaphas and ask him why this man's not been reported to me.
Why delay arrest if he's so dangerous?
No, this is a religious matter. I want to stay clear of it.
At the crossing of the Jordan, the people came to John and asked to be baptized. Among them was the carpenter from Nazareth, who patiently waited his turn. And because of the eagerness of others, he was the last to come to John.
It is he. Dost thou come to me? It is I who ought to be baptized by thee.
Let it be so now, for so it becomes us to fulfill all justice.
Look at that fellow.
Who? Jesus?
The last to be baptized. Didn't you notice anything different?
He was baptized, as were the others.
But he didn't stop to make a confession. He went to that spot near the tree. He's praying.
Maybe he has nothing to confess.
Nonsense. No man's that pure.
I've known Jesus and his family since they came to Nazareth. He's a quiet, gentle man.
Look at that dove. It's flown to Jesus. He's lighted on him. Everyone seems to be listening to something.
This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. In thee I am well pleased.
I don't hear anything, except the wind in the trees. Do you hear anything?
I thought I did, but no. It was just the wind in the trees.
Speak ye to the heart of Jerusalem, and call to her. Thou that bringest good tidings to Zion, lift up thy voice with strength. Thou that bringest good tidings to Jerusalem, lift it up, fear not. Say to the cities of Judea, behold, your God.
The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the National Council of Catholic Men, presents the Catholic Hour. Today's program will consist of music by a unit of the Paulist Choristers and an address by Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen. A group of the Paulist Choristers open the Catholic Hour now, singing Bruno Oscar Klein's musical setting of the devotional prayer, O Maria Virgo Pia. Floyd Worthington and Nathaniel Sprenzena are the soloists. Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen of the Catholic University of America will now deliver the 12th in his series of 17 addresses on the crises in Christendom. His discourse today is entitled, War as a Judgment of God. Monsignor Sheen.
Friends, we commonly speak of this war as a crisis. Our English word crisis is derived from a Greek word, krisis, which means judgment. And that is just what this war is, a judgment of God. In the life of every human being, there is a particular and a general judgment. The particular judgment comes at the moment of death, for we are individually responsible for the way we use our liberty. The general judgment comes at the end of time, because we work out our salvation in the context of the social order and the brotherhood of Christ, and therefore we must be judged with the entire world. History, too, like individuals, has its particular and its general judgments. Particular judgments come at various moments in a nation's history, when it works out the full consequences of its decisions and its philosophy of life. The general judgment will be at the end of time, when our Lord will come to judge all the nations of the world. We find a reference to both the particular and the general judgments in history in our blessed Lord's warning to the city of Jerusalem, because it had not known the time of its visitation. He said that a particular judgment would come before that very generation would have passed away, that the enemy would come and beat it flat to the ground, not leaving a stone upon a stone. And that judgment did come to pass actually in the year 70, when Titus destroyed the holy city. But our divine Lord also foretold in the same passage the general judgment of the world in the distant, unknown future, when nations which judged him then would then be judged by him as he would come in the clouds of heaven bearing his cross in triumph. By speaking of these two together, he seemed to suggest that particular judgments in history are merely rehearsals for the general judgment when the decisions of free men shall be sealed for all eternity. We are presently living in a moment of a particular judgment on history. In other words, our present world crisis is a judgment of God on our era and our times. Now, what do we mean by judgment of God? We mean a verdict of history. It is a time when the full consequences of our way of life become evident. The judgment of God does not mean that God is outside history as a mighty potentate who occasionally, to remind subjects of his power, smites them for his own good pleasure. The judgment of God means that the transcendent God is also inside history by his laws, far more intimately than an inventor is in his machine or an artist in his paintings. God has implanted certain laws in the universe, by which all things tend to their perfection. Now, these laws are of two kinds, generally: natural laws and moral laws. Natural laws are for things. Moral laws are for persons because they are free. To the extent that we obey God's moral law, we are happy and at peace. To the extent that we freely disobey the moral law, we hurt ourselves. And that consequence we call judgment. These judgments are very clear in the natural order. For example, a headache is a judgment on my refusal to eat. An atrophy of the muscles is a judgment on my refusal to exercise. Ignorance is a judgment on my refusal to study. And oak is a judgment on the acorn. No one who ever drinks wills a headache, but he gets one. No man who sins wills frustration and loneliness of soul, but he feels it. In breaking a law, we always suffer consequences which we never intended. That is because God so made the world that certain effects follow certain causes. Now, when calamity comes upon us, as a consequence of our neglect or defiance of God's will, that is what we call the judgment of God. The world did not will this war, but it willed a way of life which produced it. And in that sense, a judgment of God. Sin brings adversity. And adversity is the expression of God's condemnation of evil and the registering of divine judgment. In disobeying God's moral law, we do not destroy it. We only destroy ourselves. For example, I am perfectly free to break the law of gravitation. If I will, I can toss myself from the top of the Empire State Building. But in doing so, I kill myself. But the law of gravitation still stands. God does not interfere with the world when it suffers a judgment, any more than he interferes with the world when we ruin our health by disobeying the laws of hygiene. God does not need to interfere because he's already in the world by his law. The judgments of God are no more due to God's interference with the laws of nature than thunder is due to his interference. God did not suddenly decide to applaud with a thunderbolt whenever he saw fireworks in the heavens. He just made the universe in such a way that wherever there is lightning, there is thunder. And whenever there is a forgetfulness of the fatherhood of God, there is a forgetfulness of the brotherhood of man and war. Every now and then, as we said, there are particular judgments in history. Each era of history is a field wherein certain seeds are planted, and they grow, and they bear fruit, and they die. And the kind of ideas that are planted determines the lot of that civilization. The religious revolution of the 16th century was a judgment of God on Christian people for not living up to the full meaning of Christian life. The French Revolution was a judgment on the selfish privileges of the monarchy and the denial of political equality. Communism was a judgment on Tsarist Russia and capitalism. Nazism a judgment on Versailles. And this war is a judgment on the way the world thought and lived, married and unmarried, bought and sold. It is a judgment on the world's banks, its schools, its factories, its homes, its legislatures, its international order, its hearts and its souls, and above all, the humanist illusion that man could build a peaceful world without God. This war is to time what hell is to eternity. The registering of the conflict of the human will against the divine. And it was forged in exactly the same way as the cross. As the cross was made by a horizontal bar of man crossing the vertical bar of God, so this war is the result of the contradiction of the divine will by a perverse and wicked human will. But you may ask, what are the purposes of divine judgments in history? Why do we suffer the consequences of our acts? There are judgments in history in order that there might be guarantees of the permanence of the laws of God. Do you think men would so universally respect the laws of health if the violation of those laws did not entail such painful consequences? Where would moral development be if fire burned today and froze tomorrow, and if the refusal to sleep strengthened us today and weakened us tomorrow, and if the moral law of God had consequences in the morning, this, it seems, is the idea that needs to be emphasized more in our national life. It is positively pathetic and tragic that so many can think of no other way to justify our cause than by emphasizing the wickedness and the cruelty of the Nazis and the Japanese. Do we become angels by calling them devils? Does the crow become white by calling a leopard spotted? Must we in America be so impoverished intellectually and morally that we cannot produce a drama or write a speech or even produce comic movies unless we have Nazis under every table, buck-teeth Japs hiding behind every camera, and saboteurs in every beauty parlor? These writers do not understand the psychology of the American people. Neither are they informing the American people of why we are at war. They do not know the American people. We are the most idealistic people on the face of the earth. There is nothing that appeals to Americans more than fair play. We are traditionally for the underdog. In the last World War, we did not receive a single square mile of territory. And that was because we wanted none. In this war, we have already assured France that we will get out of her colonies when this war is over. And in the Atlantic Charter, we have assured the small nations of Europe of their integrity and their territory. We have made America the arsenal of the world, caring little whether we were thanked for it. And when this war is over, we will make America the pantry of the world, as we hope to make it the hope of the world. It is the moral law, therefore, that we are out to preserve. For right is right if nobody is right, and wrong is wrong if everybody is wrong. May we realize, then, that we are fighting not for freedom from something, but freedom for something. Namely, the right to develop personalities which are made to the image and the likeness of God. We are fighting not for the right of religious worship. For religion is not a right any more than patriotism is a right. They both are duties. Patriotism is a duty to country, and religion is a duty to God. We are fighting not for any particular form of government, but for the right of all peoples to choose their own, which will exercise power with responsibility because that power comes from God. We are fighting not for democracy, but for something deeper, namely the moral and religious foundations which make democracy possible. And to all who are interested in preserving this moral purpose of war, we will gladly send free to you a little booklet of prayers for wartime entitled The Shield of Faith. But may we also ask that the Jews and the Protestants and Catholics in this country take cognizance that there is a Lord of hosts and the God of nations and a King of kings who alone can ensure victory. May I therefore beg you to spend a holy hour a day in prayer and meditation for our country's cause and your own inner peace. May God be merciful to us as he was to the centurion. Many of us, like that centurion, thought little of God. He thought little of God until the day that he went to the war on Calvary's Hill. And gazing up at those three crosses silhouetted against the darkened sky, that hardened sergeant of the Roman army saw something he never saw before: the difference between right and wrong, and the need of dying to make the world wrong right. And in the ecstasy of that great vision, he cried out in an act of perfect faith, "Indeed, this is the Son of God." And God grant that we, who thought little of the need of faith during a false peace, may, like that centurion, find it on the battlefields of the war. As we champion the cause of justice and cry out in the joy of our regeneration, have thy way, O Lord. It is best for us. God love you. O Lord Jesus Christ, who in thy mercy hearest the prayers of sinners, pour forth, we beseech thee, all grace and blessing upon our country and its citizens. We pray in particular for the President, for our Congress, for all our soldiers, for all who defend us in ships, whether on the seas or in the skies, for all who are suffering the hardships of war. We pray for all who are in peril or in danger. Bring us all, after the troubles of this life, into the haven of peace, and reunite us all together forever, O dear Lord, in thy glorious heavenly kingdom. The kingdom.
The address you have just heard was entitled War as a Judgment of God, and was delivered by Monsignor Fulton J. Sheen of the Catholic University of America. This was the 12th in Monsignor Sheen's series of 17 addresses on the crises in Christendom. A copy of today's talk, as well as the booklet referred to by Monsignor Sheen, The Shield of Faith, may be obtained by writing to the National Council of Catholic Men, Washington, D.C., or to the station to which you are now listening. The Catholic Hour closes with Cardinal Newman's beloved hymn, Lead Kindly Light.
Johnny Miller is standing on the northwest corner of 5th and Main. Tonight he's reached the lowest point in his 21 years of life. He's hungry, he's dirty, he has 4 cents in his pocket, and in this whole city he hasn't one friend. He hesitates on the corner, looking east on 5th, where the street stumbles down past all-night movies, third-rate bars, and 50-cent-a-night hotels. He turns and looks west. 5th Street climbs a hill there, spangled on either side with lights that finally blaze together and soar into the tower of brilliance that is the Palace Hotel. Johnny Miller thinks, how a year and a half ago he was living in the Palace Hotel, and before that he had his own room in his father's house in Millersburg, the largest house there, because his family had built up the town. Johnny Miller thinks now of his family, his mother, his brother Tom, and especially of his father. His father, the last time Johnny saw him.
But Johnny, when you finished college, I was going to make you a partner in the firm, just like your brother Tom.
And I told you I want to get away from here, Dad. I want to be on my own. Here, everybody expects me to be like you or like Tom.
I don't want to hold you back, Johnny, but you haven't had any training or experience.
I'll never get the kind I want in Millersburg.
You realize what your leaving will do to your mother?
I'm sorry, Dad, but I've got my own life to lead.
I hate to see you do it the hard way, Johnny. Well, I guess nothing I've said has changed you. All right? Now I'll give you your share of the estate. Set up a bank account for you in the city. And,
Dad, are you busy now?
Yes, Tom, I am.
Tom, I'm going in business for myself in the city. Dad's giving me my share of the estate.
So you finally wore him down. Going in business. You could put all you know about business on a toothpick and still have room left over. When you come calling back here, don't expect any sympathy from me.
You've always been against me.
Johnny, do you realize that if you get yourself in a mess in the city, there won't be anybody to pull you out? You could crack up your whole life.
I'll show Tom. I'll show everybody.
Johnny Miller looks up at the tower of the Palace Hotel, where he stayed his first night in town, and for too long after that. Down the block from the hotel is the Shadowland Bar, where he met Ted Wilcox the afternoon of the second day.
Here, I was afraid it was going to be kind of hard getting acquainted.
Well, it generally is, Johnny, but I'm funny. The minute I see a fella, I know whether I like him or not. The minute I saw you, I said to myself, now there's a guy who's got a lot on the ball. He's going places.
Well, thanks, Ted, but, gee, I'm just getting started.
Yeah, that's the toughest part. Things in town are a little slow now. There are a few good deals, like the one Stanley Ferguson has. Oh, but I'm afraid that's closed tight now. I shouldn't have even mentioned it.
Why not?
Stanley doesn't want the word to get around, or everybody'd be wanting to buy into this. It's an electronics deal. Red hot right now.
Electronics? Well, that's just the kind of a thing I'd be interested in.
Huh? Tell you what I'll do. I'll call up Ferguson, see if he's free tonight. We could meet him at the Manhattan Club. It's a real nice place. We can talk. Now, there just might be a chance if we move fast. Johnny, Ferguson liked you. Do you know you're in? The only calluses you'll ever get in your hands will be from clipping coupons.
Oh, that's swell. It was kind of hard talking business with a floor show going on, you know.
I forgot you didn't know the Manhattan was a nightclub.
Who was that girl we met? She was awfully nice.
Oh, her name's Rosalie. She's engaged to some wealthy fellow.
Oh.
And he's out of town right now. Everybody who knows Rosalie hopes she'll break it off. This fellow's strictly a jerk. And if Rosalie got interested in some really nice guy...
On the corner of 5th and Main, Johnny Miller fingers the 4 cents in his pocket and looks up at his world of a year ago. 3 blocks over from the Palace Hotel are the Coronado Apartments where Rosalie lived when she became Johnny Miller's girl in the days when he had money and a good time. That's how the money went, paying bills for Rosalie and having fun while he waited for Ferguson to start the coupons rolling in. He had so much fun, there wasn't time to look for a job or move to a less expensive hotel, or worry about the stack of IOUs from the gang of good fellows who were always running into streaks of hard luck. Johnny Miller remembers the nightmare that began for him as he rattled the locked door of Stanley Ferguson's office, reading and not believing the sign that said, "Close." The nightmare continued with Rosalie's frantic phone calls for more checks, with Ted's sorrowful shaking of the head at Johnny's mention of Ferguson.
Oh, it just goes to show you can't trust anybody. Even if the police do find him, he won't produce you money, Johnny.
But I've been depending on that deal of Ferguson's. Well, this couldn't have happened at a worse time. Ted, I got a favor to ask of you. It's not really for me. It's for Rosalie.
Rosalie?
Well, I was waiting for that deal of Ferguson's to pay off. That would have covered everything. Now...
Johnny, I'd do anything in the world to help. If I hadn't just paid an installment on my furniture, well, they were backing up a van to haul it away. And if I hadn't just paid all this...
Johnny Miller remembers the pawn shop halfway down the hill from the Palace Hotel. The pawn shop that gave him Rosalie's money in the hotel bill and left him with the suit on his back and the shoes on his feet. He had enough change left for a drink at the Shadowland bar, where he heard Ted speak his name, but he listened unseen.
Well, fellas, it looks like Johnny Miller's on the town. As Rosalie says, he lived it up for a year, and her time was worth something. Barnum was right. There's one born every minute.
On the corner of 5th and Main, a man in the streetcar loading zone is smoking a cigarette. He turns, flips away 3/4 of the smoke. It rolls almost to Johnny Miller's feet. He glances about to see if anyone's watching. Then he steps into the car.
Hey, that car hit this man. Hey, mister, are you hurt?
No.
Oh.
No, it just brushed me.
Just a skid row bump scrounging for butts. I saw the whole thing. He stepped right out in front of that car after the cigarette just about.
Come on, kid. Let's get on the sidewalk. How about a cup of coffee? You look pretty shaky.
No, thanks. I'm not looking for handouts.
And I'm not offering any handouts. I want some coffee, and I don't like drinking by myself. Will you join me?
Well, okay. Thanks.
This place on the corner's all right. Yeah. I'll take this table. Sit down there. 2 coffees, black. Where? You just speak of hard luck, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't get a job because you haven't any decent clothes, and you can't get clothes without money, and you're too proud to take charity, right?
I guess when I ran low, I should have taken any job.
Yeah, but you waited. And now you're flat, eh? Well, here's our coffee. Ain't nothing like a cup of coffee on a chilly night. You from out of town?
Yeah.
Got a family back there?
Yeah.
Well, don't be a fool. Go on home.
What? I couldn't. I'll think of something.
No, you won't think of nothing. You'll go east on 5th, you'll land on Skid Row, and you'll end up telling lies to old ladies at church doors to get the price of a pint of wine.
How do you know so much about it?
Experience. 5 years of experience. That's why I keep on the lookout for fellas who might take a chance to come back. Yep, I'll be glad to help you with the train fare home.
No, if I wanted to go, I'd do it by myself.
Now, you take it from one who knows. Now, you think it over. I have to leave now, but I'll buy you another cup of coffee.
Johnny Miller sits alone at the cafe table. He sips the coffee a stranger has bought him, and he tries to think.
Go home. It's easy for him to say. He doesn't know what it'd be like. Going home a failure. I couldn't face Dad after what I said. I couldn't have him see me this way. But what else can I do? The man was right. I'll end up on Skid Row. I ought to face it. I ought to take my medicine. But maybe they wouldn't want me. Dad shouldn't even want me. But he's the only one who might. Maybe Dad could forgive me. But Tom... I couldn't face Tom. I just couldn't take what he'd say. If I could just tell Dad I was sorry, that he was right, and I'm sorry. But Tom and the other people, they'd laugh at me. No, I can't face it. They'd laugh. Oh, God, please.
Hey, knock it off, punk. You're not going on a crying jag in my place.
Look, I'm not drunk.
Come on, get out of here.
All right.
Now look what you did. Coffee all over my clean floor. Not drunk, huh? You can't even stand up, you wino. Here, take this rag and mop up that mess. Go on, get down there, clean it up.
Johnny Miller on his knees wipes the floor. People look down at him, some with pity, others with a sneer. Johnny Miller feels something inside him break. It crumbles. A shattered wall of pride.
Dad, I'm back.
Johnny.
You were right. I fouled up everything. I'm sorry.
Come in the house. You don't know how good it is to see you.
Dad, I'm not asking you to take me back. I don't deserve it.
Thank God you're home. We didn't hear. Well, never mind.
The money, Dad, it's all gone. And the things I've done...
Johnny, forget it. Don't think about it again. You're starting over.
Oh, Dad. But Tom, what'll Tom say? You know, he was right. I came crawling.
What difference does it make what Tom says? You were man enough to come back. That's all that counts. You had to learn from experience, but you paid for it. You're still his brother and my son. Johnny. Thought I'd lost my boy. You came back.
The story of Johnny Miller sounds like a strictly modern one because it happens to so many young men today. Actually, this is one of the oldest stories ever written. Our Lord himself told it in the parable of the prodigal son. He told it to convince us that we have the most loving of fathers in heaven. The kindness of the human parent is only the dimmest shadow of the mercy of God. No matter how foolish we've been, how blackly we've sinned, we can always go back to our Father and say, I'm sorry. And He will receive us gladly as His child. And all heaven is filled with rejoicing at our return.
By golly, it's Mark to mind your manners.
Yes, boys and girls, it's time to mind your manners with Alan Ludden and his panel of typical teenagers. From the studios of WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut, the National Broadcasting Company presents a teenage discussion session for boys and girls from 8 to 18. Adults are invited to sit in on the meeting, too. So gather round because here he comes, the man who conducts the meeting, that man who makes manners fun, Alan Ludden.
Thank you, Ed Anderson. Hello there, boys and girls. It's time again for another meeting, and we're all set to get right down to business because you have sent us a lot of real teenage problems that should make this a banner session. So the meeting is called to order, and let's start things right off with the introduction of our panel of typical teenagers. Come in, panel.
Betty Ann Kelly, 17 years old, high school graduate.
E.J. Kilday, 17 years old, high school senior.
Vanda Thompson, 18 years old, high school graduate.
Pete Wagner, 17 years old, high school senior. Fred Smith, 16 years old, high school junior.
And speaking for the boys and girls who have not yet reached the hallowed teenage, today we have our old friend...
Ellen Lee, 12 years old, 6th grade.
Well, it's good to see you all again, panel, and I hope you're ready for a real discussion today because your listeners have really been sending in some good problems. The first $5 in savings stamps goes out to a young lady in Davenport, Iowa, for sending us this fine problem.
I have a date just about every weekend, and sometimes my parents double date with us. We have had a lot of fun dancing or going to the movies, and sometimes we have had picnics. What does your panel think of our going out with my parents?
What do you think about this, panel? Let's hear first from Betty Ann Kelly.
Well, there's nothing wrong with double dating with parents. They can be a lot of fun, and if they're youthful enough, then just go right out with them. But I think as a general rule, it isn't too good to, make steady dating with your parents because the boy might feel a little out of place, although he shouldn't really.
Let's hear from a boy. Fred Smith, what do you think about it?
Well, I agree with Betty Ann. I think that it's all right once in a while if you can go out and have fun, have a real good time, but I don't advise it all the time.
E.J., do you agree?
Well, I think it's fine that the parents are interested and concerned about their children and that they go out with them. But I wouldn't like the girls or even my own parents to go out with us all the time. Spend some time on your own.
Oh, well, now, what about the parents in this matter, Ben? Do you have any instructions or advice for the parents in regard to this problem of dating with their girls, daughters? Pardon me.
Excuse me. Yes, I do. It's nice to have your parents go out with you, and it is a lot of fun, but for heaven's sake, parents, don't go out jitterbugging and try to dress like your children do, I should say young teenagers do, and try to act younger. Act your own age, and you can still have a lot of fun.
Fine. Well, now, Ellen Lee, what do you think about it? You're 12 years old. When you start dating, would you like to go out with your parents? Do you think you might have fun?
Well, sometimes you might, but I wouldn't like them to make a habit of it. And I don't think the parents should go out with the children just to spy on them.
Oh, no. Well, we don't think that's at all is the case. Pete, what do you think about it? Would you like to go out with a girl who has some very fun parents, interesting people, and say you go out dancing, you go to movies, or to a picnic? Do you think a boy can have fun with a girl if he's out with her parents?
Sure they can. He could have a swell time with the parents, as the rest of the panel have said, but I'd like to put in my vote not to carry it too far. But I'd like to say a word to the boys that really don't think that it's the right thing to do to go out with a girl's parents. It's all right, and you're missing a lot of fun sometimes if your girlfriend has nice parents, and you can have fun with them.
Sure, parents aren't so bad. They're very nice people sometimes, and sometimes they can be a lot of fun. I'm glad we got around to this subject. Incidentally, we've always talked about it here in this meeting, that it's fun to have fellowship in the family, and certainly this is one way you can encourage it. Now, before we go on to our second discussion, I'd like to invite all you boys and girls who are with us today to drop us a note and let us know that you've joined our meeting. Believe me, we're very interested in hearing from you and knowing what your problems are. If you write to us, we'll be able to talk about the things that interest you the most, and that's the whole idea of our program. Now, let's get on to the second question that was selected for discussion. It was sent in to us by Jack Hollis in Funiac Springs, Florida. And here is what Jack asked.
My problem is that I like a girl that is much older than I am. I'm 14 and she is 17. You think I should go with someone else, although I really like this older girl better than any other?
All right, Pete, what do you say to this boy?
I think it's perfectly all right to go out with her. Age makes no difference in dating, is my opinion. I think if you can go out with her without getting an inferiority complex, and you feel at ease when you go out with her or her friends, by all means, go out.
All right, let's hear from E.J. Kildare.
Well, I should say that it's all right to go out with this girl if she appreciates your company, but don't get too serious. For there's going to be an awful lot of more girls in your life in your own age category. So why not start looking for them now?
All right, Fred Smith, what's your vote?
I think that the personality, maturity, and poise of the couple is a great deal more important than the actual age.
Fine. There's a lot more to this business of having fun than just worrying about how many years. And you mentioned that word poise. Betty Ann, what is this business of poise? What do you think about it? Do you think that the poise enters into this question of the boy going with a 17-year-old girl,
Well, it certainly does,
boy?
because he shouldn't make a problem out of it and just take things as they come. And, well, as E.J. said, I believe, if the girl's content, just go out with her and have fun. But as a rule, I don't approve of younger boys going out with older girls because girls are, they're more settled at a younger age, and I don't see how they can have too much fun together.
Well, Bandit, do you agree?
No, boys can be older than their age.
That they can be. I'm glad to hear that.
The girl may be a little younger than her age, and we get along very nicely together.
Fine. But in other words, we've said before, and let's say it again, Ellen Lee, our idea for teenagers and for boys and girls 12 years old and 10 years old playing together, having fun, is not to worry about things, to have fun. Is that what we said before?
That's right.
Okay, I'm glad to bring you in on that, Ellen Lee. Last week, we turned our adult discussion question period over to our senior panel members to discuss what graduation in 1948 means to them. In the meantime, Betty Ann and Vanda have graduated, and they are now full-fledged graduates. But Pete and E.J. still have the big day ahead of them, and I think we'd better start our discussion off today with their ideas. So, Pete, how about picking up that discussion where we left it last week and letting us hear your ideas on what it means to graduate?
Well, Mr. Ludden, a lot of people, I find, look at graduation as the end of a period for preparation for their life's work. I don't go along with these people. Commencement to me means just the second step in my road to education. My first step being graduation from 8th grade. My next step being graduation from college, and when my final step comes, I don't know, probably never.
Well, in other words, you're always going to keep preparing, but this is just a step on the ladder. Well, now, E.J., how do you feel about it? Do you think that graduation from high school simply means that you move on to the next step, or is there really a break there?
Well, I think there is a break. My graduation is my realization of my going out and face the wide and wicked world, as they say. Then, too, it's the seriousness of high school. Why, if you talked on this subject for 8 days, You couldn't make a student realize how important this education is.
You know, E.J., it sounds like to me you're talking not to the graduates so much as to the boys and girls who are still in high school. Is that right?
I am. I'd really like to impress on some student the importance of this education.
Would you like to have had somebody impress it on you about 3 years ago?
I certainly would have, but I doubt if it would have made much difference because a student has to realize it for himself and really learn from experience.
But as you graduate from high school, all of a sudden you realize then, as I'm summing up what you said, that high school is a pretty important phase in your life, and you wish a little bit, I think, that you'd made more of it. Is that it?
That's right. I would have liked to improve my marks a great deal.
All right. Now, Betty Ann, you graduated. How does it feel to be out in this wide, wicked world, as E.J. said?
Oh, it doesn't seem very wicked.
Well, that's fine. We're glad to have you out here, believe me. Well, what do you think about it, though? Do you feel any different now that you're out of school, formal education and such?
No, I don't feel a bit different. Only, I'd like to say something about these people who say we're going out to, well, a wicked world, and that we're going to have so many tough times ahead of us. I think that every graduating class feels the same way, that they just have the greatest problems in the world facing them. But no matter what you do or no matter what condition the world is in, I think you can always reach a certain personal satisfaction and a personal happiness that will make everything all right for you.
Fine, Vanda, I see you nod. Do you agree with Betty Ann?
Well, yes, in a way, but she says it doesn't mean too much to her. Well, it means an awful lot to me. I feel so wonderful. Well, actually, I'm out of school now, and I'm on my own. It makes a lot of difference.
Fine, you see, everybody has different ideas, and you know, next week we're going to talk about the letters we've had from our listeners in regard to this problem of graduating from high school in 1948. So, if you're a new graduate, how about dropping us a note and telling us what this milestone means in your life? You never can tell. Maybe the idea you send us and that we pass on to other boys and girls will be just the thought that will help some teenager who is in doubt. And this discussion subject does not exclude the adults. We are most anxious to hear from you, too, believe me, and to hear your experiences in regard to the significance of high school graduation. So this is actually a direct appeal to you to send us your ideas. From them, we will create our discussion next week. Now, panel, let's get on along with our third prize-winning question. It came to us from Edith Rickard in Brandywine, Maryland. And for it, Edith will receive $5 in savings stamps. Here it is.
I have had 1 year of typing in shorthand. I would like very much to apply for a job this summer, but I don't know how. Could you tell me where to go to apply for a job and what to do? How does one make a good impression?
Well, now, here's a good question to follow up this discussion of getting out in the wide and wicked world. Let's talk about applying for a job. What do you think about it, Fred Smith?
Well, a well-groomed person, one who is very neat and one who is very polite and has the correct attitude toward the job. They are eager to get along and make the best of it, will always succeed.
In other words, you think that's one of the things to do when you're going to apply for a job. Let's get this down to categories. We're going to talk about where to go, what to do, and how to make a good impression. Now, I think Fred kind of covered a lot of those facets. Vanda, what do you think about it? You actually are in the business world now. What about this business of applying for a job?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, I think one of the most important thing is if you like your job, what you're going to go into. Don't just say, well, I don't care. It's just a job for the summer. I don't know whether I'll like it or not. Go to a job that you think you're going to like, and then go on from there.
May I interrupt a minute, Vanna? You mean then that when you apply for a job, be sure to create the impression that you are eager to have the job, that it's not just another job, but that's the job you want.
That's right.
Fine. You know, I talked to a head of a personnel department about this question, and he said that appearance and attitude are the two things which are the most important things for personnel officers to investigate as they talk to applicants. Now, let's talk about this business of appearance. Betty Ann, how do you create a favorable impression from your appearance?
Well, I think employers notice the tiniest things. They notice your fingernails and your makeup, and whether, well, for a girl, she's overdressed and she looks her age, and if she's dressed for office work, and then, well, she notices if your seams are straight, and, well, just how neat you are, and a boy if his tie is straight, and things like that. How do
you create an impression of being neat, E.J.?
Well, remember to keep that hair well groomed, your shirt neat and clean. That tie always as tight as you can get it. Where I tie mine. And
all right.
Remember to have those shoes shined, pants creased, and everything like that really helps to make up your character.
All right. One more word. Pete, what do you have to say?
Well, don't forget the part of the question where she asked where to go. My suggestions are to either go to the USES, the United States Employment Service, or private employment agencies, or you can consult guidance instructors in the high school. They have long lists of possible occupations, or go to personnel departments of large organizations.
Fine.
And talk to them.
That's good. Personnel officers, we've talked about this question. Perhaps we'll talk about it some more, and we certainly hope that Edith Rickard has a profitable summer. And now it's the audience's turn. So how about it, audience? Are you ready for your right-wrong quiz? Yeah! Okay, get on your toes, because Eddie Robbins is going to read 5 statements about manners. Those statements could be right or they could be very wrong, and it's up to you to decide which one they are. Ed Anderson is out there with his portable microphone, and he will pick one of you to speak up for the audience. If you tell us correctly whether the question is right or wrong, the audience gets 20 points. You see, it's just like a school quiz so far, but there's a difference. Whether you get it right or wrong, you get a prize. You see, it's fun for everybody, so get set because here is your first right-wrong statement.
Boys and girls are not expected to watch their behavior in public as much as adults. It's all right for them to be lively and to make more noise than grown-ups.
What do you think about that? Is that right or wrong? Let's hear from a young...
Here's a young lady down here. She'll
right
just step up to the
at
mic.
the end of the aisle. Let's hear from her.
Wrong.
That's wrong. Now, you think boys and girls should watch their behavior in public?
Yes.
That's 20 points. What's your name?
Betty Ann tried it.
Betty Ann? That's fine. Incidentally, what do you think about boys and girls running down a busy downtown street?
No.
No, they should walk just like the adults. They should be careful of their behavior in public. Fine. 20 points for the audience. A little prize for you. Second question.
Girls who chatter when dancing are much more interesting partners than girls who don't talk as much.
Girls who chatter when dancing. What about that? Let's talk to a boy about this.
No.
No, that's wrong. You like a girl who chatters when she dances?
No.
No. A girl who just makes a pleasant conversation is all right. What's your name, incidentally?
Melvin Miller.
What?
Melvin Miller.
Melvin, you get 20 more points to the audience. That's 40 altogether. Here's a little gift for you, and thank you very much.
Boys are expected to get out of cars and buses first and to help the girls out after them.
Oh, everybody's got the hand up. Let's see now. What do you think?
Yes.
That's right. That's 60 points. What's your name?
Phyllis Seaman.
Phyllis, when the boys get out of a bus, they should get out first, right?
Yes,
They
and
should
help the
you-
girl out.
Help the girl out. Fine. That's 20 points more for the audience, 60 altogether, and a little gift for you, Phyllis. Thank you a lot.
If soup is served in a cup with handles, it is perfectly proper to pick it up and drink the soup from the cup.
If soup is served in cup with handles, it's all right to drink it. What do you think about that, young man?
That's wrong.
No, do you know what? That's right. It's perfectly all right to drink soup when it's not too hot, particularly the thin kind, the bouillon, the kind you can see through, when it's served in a cup with handles. You missed that, but we've got a little gift for you. Incidentally, though, you can tell me this. Is it right to make noise when you drink soup from a cup?
No.
No, that's right. You shouldn't make any noise, but it's all right to drink soup from a cup if there are handles provided, all right? 60 points to the audience, and our last one. Let's see how you do in this.
It is better for girls to wear no fingernail polish than to wear polish that is chipped.
All right, let's hear from a girl on this, Ed. Here's a young lady. What do you think?
Girls should wear no polish if it isn't nice.
Fine. In other words, you think that statement is right?
Yes.
That's right. The audience gets 80 points. What's your name?
Suzanne Emser.
Suzanne, do you wear fingernail polish?
No.
But when you do, you're going to wear it either properly put on or not at all, right?
Yes.
Fine. That's part of grooming. Thank you a lot. And that winds up our audience quiz for today. The final score was 80 points. And I hope everybody had a good time. I certainly did. Every one of you is invited to come back again next week when we'll have another right-wrong quiz for you. So don't go away right now, though, because we've got a lot more to talk about. And speaking of something to talk about, here is Ed Anderson with the rules to our Mind Your Manners contest. Ed, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alan. Well, boys and girls, Mind Your Manners is your show. And we talk about your problems each week at our meetings. Our panel of typical teenagers is anxious to tackle any subject that interests boys and girls from 8 to 18, and we depend on you to send us your questions or problems. And if you do, you may win one of our fine prizes. Each week we award a $25 security bond to the writer of the best stated and most interesting question. And for the 5 other questions selected for discussion, Mind Your Manners will send the writers $5 in savings stamps. All entries become the property of this program. In case of ties, duplicate prizes will be awarded. The decision of the judges is final. Contest closes at midnight on Wednesdays, and entries received after that date will be considered for the following week's contest. Send all entries to this address. Mind Your Manners, Department 4, National Broadcasting Company, Radio City, New York City. So, boys and girls, send your problems in today, right after the meeting.
Well, we'll be looking for your letters and cards, boys and girls. Right now, let's see who won $5 in savings stamps for sending us our 4th question. It came from a very fine young lady who lives in Leavenworth, Kansas, and this is what she asked you, panel.
I have a very dear aunt who not only makes my clothes, but selects the materials and the patterns. She means well, but everything she makes is too old for me. I want some suntan dresses, slacks, and shorts, but she doesn't approve of them. I'm at a loss to know how to tell my aunt without hurting her feelings.
All right, let's hear first from Ellen Lee. What do you think about this, Ellen Lee?
Well, she could make some of the clothes that she likes and wear them and to show the aunt that it's perfectly all right, and sometimes it's a little better to wear clothes your own age than to wear clothes too old for you.
All right, let's hear from Betty Ann Kelly.
Well, perhaps the girl could impress upon her family, her mother and father, that, well, she just doesn't like these clothes, and they could talk to the aunt. And then I think maybe she'd realize that the clothes she's making are too old, and although she might not try sundresses, she could at least try regular teenage street dresses.
All right, Vanda?
And this is where tact comes in. You can't just go and tell the aunt that, well, I don't want these clothes. They're too old for me. The parents are going to have to do it in such a way that it's not going to hurt her feelings.
I see. Well, let's talk about tact. What do you think about tact, Fred Smith? Do you think that's an important thing for teenagers to master?
I certainly do. I think it's a very important thing. And in regard to this question, one way which she might show the aunt what kind of clothes she likes was possibly through patterns or pictures in fashion magazines.
All right. And illustrate what she has in mind, and maybe the aunt will find it to be a very attractive style. Yeah, you got something else to say?
Yes. She says that the aunt is making clothes too old for her and so forth. Well, possibly the aunt thinks that she is doing what she wants, and those are the kind of clothes she likes. Perhaps she doesn't even know it, so it'd be a good idea to tell her.
Fine, but tell her tactfully so she doesn't hurt her feelings. Incidentally, E.J., do you think that tact is a thing a boy or girl can start to learn when he's, say, Ellen Lee's age or younger than that? What is it? How would you define tact? I've got you on the spot.
Spot? That's worse than a spot. Tact is the right way of handling a situation very subtly. It's the proper way of doing a thing or getting out of a very bad spot like I'm in now.
Well, E.J., do you think it has something to do? It's part of poise, which is another thing we talk about a lot.
Yes, Mr. Ludden, that is one of the most, one of the main phases in poise.
All right, you did very well. I think you were very tactful. You were very tactful. E.J., I would never have known that you weren't quite sure what the answer to that question was. That was very tactful of you. We'd like to talk about this problem again some other time. Maybe we'll get some more questions on it. Incidentally, if you missed our address a while ago when Ed Anderson gave it to you, I'd like to suggest right now that you get a pencil and paper ready, because Pete's going to give you our address again at the close of the meeting. Right now, though, we move along to our fifth question, which was sent in to us by a young Boy Scout who lives in Morristown, Tennessee. And for it, this young man receives $5 in savings stamps, and here is his question.
Our scoutmaster's wife died, and I want to take up a collection in our scout troop to send flowers to her. One of my friends said that it would just make our scoutmaster feel worse. What do you think? Should we send flowers or not?
All right, Ellen Lee, what do you think?
Well, I should send the flowers, and don't be afraid to show your sympathy, and go ahead and send them.
All right, go ahead and send the flowers. You vote for that. What do you think about it, Vanda?
Well, it's the attitude of the sympathy. It has to be expressed sincerely. And you might write him a note, because maybe you knew his wife, and you could tell how much she meant and how much fun you used to have with her and things like that. That really would hit home with your scoutmaster.
All right, now let's talk about this problem of being embarrassed to display a sincere expression of emotion like this. Here is an occasion where a young boy feels a real sympathy for his scoutmaster who has had a tragic incident in his life. Shouldn't boys and girls and adults all feel secure in the knowledge that the person who has suffered such a tragedy is glad and appreciates any sincere expression? How would you write such a note, Betty Ann? What would you say in a note like that?
Well, Vanda sort of brought out the points you could mention, but say that, well, perhaps you had known the woman and said that you'll miss her and that it's been a great loss to him and to everyone, but and that at this moment you'd like to express your deep sympathy and your sorrow, too, at her death.
Fine. In other words, to say simply and straightforward, in a straightforward manner, how you feel about a thing like that is never bad. It's always good, and it's part, again, of poise. And now you know what we do. We move around to the high point of the meeting, the grand prize question of the week. Now, here is the question that was judged the best stated and most interesting of all those submitted this week. And for sending us this problem, a young lady in Rockport, Indiana, receives a $25 security bond. Panel, your very best attention is invited now to this young lady's problem, the grand prize question of the week.
I am a high school graduate, 17 years of age. I date quite often, and some of the boys I go with drink occasionally. This is my problem. I do not approve of drinking, and I've asked my dates not to drink when they are out with me. Do you think that it shows a lack of respect for the girl if a boy drinks on a date with her? Do you think I am right in telling them how I feel about it?
Panel, here is a real, serious teenage problem, and I'd like to begin to tackle it. I'm sure we can't solve it today, but let's hear first from Betty Ann Keller.
Well, I think the boy does show a lack of respect for the girl if she makes it known that she doesn't approve of drinking and he goes right ahead. But it is her duty to tell him how she feels, and if she doesn't know him too well when they're out, if he starts to drink, make it known that if he does drink this time, it'll be the last time she'll go out with him. And the girl always sets the standard of how a boy acts on a date anyway, so she has the greatest say about it.
In other words, the activities of the behavior of the boy is more or less follows the behavior of the girl.
That's
is that right? Well, that's a very straightforward admission of responsibility for young ladies. Let's hear from Vanda Thompson. What do you think?
Well, a gentleman regards the feelings of others, and especially his date for the evening. And these boys have failed to consider the feelings of the girls. And I think if the girl knows that they drink, she shouldn't go out with them and She says she dates quite often, so why not date with somebody else?
In other words, just not go out with a boy who drinks. But what if she likes a boy who drinks, but she doesn't want him to drink with her? Her problem is not to change his whole attitude about a problem such as drinking. We won't get into the right and wrong of drinking, which certainly has its arguments. But let's get into this attitude of the girl. You agree she should make her wishes known, right?
That's right.
Well, Pete, now what do you think about boys in a matter like this?
Well, I think if the boy does drink, he should do it at his own time, if the girl doesn't approve of it. Of course, if the girl drinks herself or doesn't feel embarrassed or self-conscious if the boy drinks, is perfectly all right. But in this case, I agree with the rest of the panel, that the girl should tell the boy definitely just how she feels about it, and that if he can't show enough respect to obey her wishes and consider her feelings, then the girl shouldn't go out with him anymore.
And that boy certainly then is not a gentleman. We're getting down to basic principles here of good manners. A gentleman does not offend his company in any case. And in this case, he offends the girl if he drinks, and so he is not a gentleman if he does. Therefore, boys and girls, remember that the basic principle of good manners is to remember the feelings of others and to respect their wishes. Now let's open up today's answer box, because we find the answers to some good questions that were sent in, but they were not selected for discussion here with our panel. Today's first question comes
from an 11-year-old girl in Kansas City. I like my hair in loose curls on my neck, but my mother wants me to wear it in tight curls. I think it looks silly that way. What do you think?
Well, we think that little girls should be proud of the opportunity to wear their hair in little girl styles. We also think that mother knows best, so wear your hair the way your mother likes it for a few years anyway and be happy about it.
From boys and girls in Alabama, Louisiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Iowa, Michigan, Texas, Florida, and lots of other places in the United States, this message: congratulations and best wishes for future success to Betty Ann, Vanda, Pete, and E.J. Mind Your Manners listeners are proud of these senior panel members who have successfully completed their high school education, and they all send their heartiest congratulations.
And to these best wishes from our listeners, I would like to add my personal congratulations to you, Betty Ann, Vanda, E.J., and Pete. You made so many friends through your fine comments and discussions here at our weekly meetings, and those friends have asked that you stay on the panel even though you are now high school graduates. So you're all invited to remain with us all through the summer, and I'm sure we'll have many interesting meetings ahead of us.
Thank you. Speaking for all of us seniors, I'd like to thank our listeners for their many cards and letters about our graduation. It has made us very happy and proud to know that you thought of us.
Well, thank you, Betty Ann. And now, while we're about this business of congratulations, let's send a great big congratulatory wish to all high school seniors all over the country. Fine. And there it goes. We're all sending wishes all across the country to all the high school graduates. The top just popped back on our answer box, and it's about time to adjourn today's meeting. But before we do, let's hear from our panel members, graduates and seniors and sophomores and freshmen and our 6th grade members one more time.
This is E.J. Kilday. We're counting on you new high school graduates to send us ideas for our discussion at the next meeting. You see, we on the panel know that all of you have been thinking about the problem of graduation from high school, and we would like to make this a discussion worthwhile in our next meeting next week. So won't you drop us a line and tell us how you feel about it?
This is Betty Ann Kelly. I'd like to urge the adults, too, to join this discussion of the meaning of graduation from high school. We are most anxious to hear from you.
This is Fred Smith reminding you to be sure to give us your full name and address when you write.
This is Ellen Lee, asking the boys and girls younger than teenage to send us their problems.
This is Vanda Thompson reminding you that Mind Your Manners is for all boys and girls from 8 to 18.
And this is Pete Wagner with our address again. All set? Okay, here it is. Mind Your Manners, Department 4, National Broadcasting Company, Radio City, New York 20, New York.
Thank you, panel. It was a banner meeting, and we'll be looking for you at the next meeting next week. Remember, boys and girls, I'll be calling Mind Your Manners to order then, and everyone is invited to join us. Have a good week and drop us a line, won't you? This is Alan Ludden saying goodbye now.
Boys and girls, if you have a problem about social behavior, either at home, at school, or at parties, send it in to Mind Your Manners. You may win one of those 6 prizes. Remember, the best question receives a $25 security bond. Mind Your Manners is written and conducted by that man who makes manners fun, Alan Ludden. He'll be back with his panel of typical teenagers next week at the same time. This is Ed Anderson saying we hope to see you then, and in the meantime, remember...
By golly, it is smart to mind your manners.
Mind Your Manners has come to you from the studios of WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Israel, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations. The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today by Arnold Pearl is entitled How the Sabbath Was 7 Minutes Late in Tel Aviv. Featured as Red Gabriel is Edgar Staley.
This is about how the Sabbath was 7 minutes late in Tel Aviv. And whose fault was it? Mine, Red Gabriel of Tel Aviv, Palestine. Mine. Not ancient history, I assure you. Only last week. 7 minutes late. The man, Red Gabriel, who blows the shofar, the trumpet, that is, on the Sabbath Eve, to announce that the Sabbath has come. In our city, Tel Aviv, this is my work. To walk around the city and to tell people, prepare for the coming of the Sabbath Queen. An interesting job? I like it. How do I do it? What does it sound like? So. How could the Sabbath be late, you're asking? Well, to tell the truth, of course, the Sabbath was not late. The Sabbath was on time. Sundown, as always. Who was late? I was. Whose fault was it? Well, I'll admit it again. Only, please, listen to my explanation. It was my fault with special circumstances, if you please. 15 minutes a week I work. That's all. But during those 15 minutes, I am the most important man in all of Tel Aviv. In the entire region, almost. For when I blow my trumpet, everything stops. Men, women, and children repair to their homes to make their Sabbath preparations. So I am not unimportant. Clocks are slow or fast, but Red Gabriel is always on time. That is, until this once that I'm telling you about.
Good evening, Red Gabriel.
Mrs. Mayor, good evening.
Oh, you blew just beautifully last week.
Oh, thank you.
You had a good week?
Fine. And you?
Fine. My daughter is here from Haifa.
She's well, I hope. And the new baby.
Wonderful. 4 ounces she gained in 1 week. Stop in the next time you're around.
I will. 4 ounces?
Mm-hmm. And because of the baby, such excitement and everything.
Yes.
You'll be sure to blow loud and remind me.
I will.
You won't forget.
Oh, would I forget?
Of course not.
Such exchanges, such friendships make life worth living. At my age, 63, to know that you're making a contribution, who could ask for more? Still, not everyone likes me. Not everyone is so polite. Naturally, you can guess why. When I blow my trumpet, sometimes I interrupt people. They're doing things, I blow, they're interrupted. As, for example...
Grandpa, where are you running? To the library. In such a hurry? I'm playing Portia at the Beamer next week. No. The amateur theatrical group. They select me Portia. I forget to play and study. Portia. Really, Portia. Oh, that's wonderful. I'll never have enough time to learn the part, so I'm running. Oh, you'll make a wonderful Portia. Oh, what? Look.
And, of course, they're pointing to me because I have the trumpet to my lips and because it's time to announce that the Sabbath is arriving. Believe me, I don't enjoy that. A young girl, her first chance to play Portia. She needs the Merchant of Venice from the library. Do you think I like doing it?
Oh, Simmer, don't worry. I have a copy at home. You can borrow mine.
Well, as I said, sometimes people don't like me. But no matter what is going on, when the Sabbath comes, I must blow. At the exact stroke of sundown, I blow. Buses, trolleys, cars, trucks, everything must stop. Sometimes I see a tired working man just home from the shop. He's about to stretch out and sleep for a little before his supper. He forgets what day it is. So as gently as I can, I blow. Still, I must be heard. So I blow gently, but loud. He gets up and makes a slight face, and then remembers the blessings of the Sabbath. So if he frowns at me at first, later he smiles. And so it goes. Everything stops except, of course, the red derby. Morgan Dovey. Only the ambulance is allowed to pass. Help for the sick or for the suffering. For them, the trumpet does not say stop. Their work goes on. So, now to explain how the Sabbath was late, or rather, how I was late on the Sabbath. It was an ordinary day, maybe an hour before sundown. As usual, I was in the square, strolling around.
Good evening, Reb Gabriel.
Ah, you're going, Mrs. Eisenberg. Go. It will be soon now.
Good evening, Reb Gabriel.
Reb Miller. Oh, you're coming home, I see. You're coming home soon now.
Evening, Reb.
Ah, hi, my son. You too are coming home. Well, hurry home quickly. I blow soon. Oh, how do I know if they're going or coming? Oh, simple. If they're going somewhere, they have their work tools. Books, pencils, shovels, something. If they're coming home, they have a bunch of flowers in their hands. Everybody brings flowers home on the Sabbath Eve. Everybody. Well, I looked at my watch, and at the sun, Still time. So I walked a little. I saw friends, chatted a little, ate an orange that the grocer gave me. And then I came to the barber shop. The door was open, so I stood there looking in. I had plenty of time. What did I hear? A woman was talking to Figaro the barber. You don't know Figaro? Oh, a character. A real person in our city.
My name is Fiver. But who calls a barber Fiver? They call me Figaro, like the barber in the opera of Mozart. I cut hair, and they tell me I talk too much. Actually, I don't like to talk. Only people expect a barber to talk, so I talk.
Figaro, a haircut and a quick shave. And tell me, what's the latest news in soccer? Who's ahead, huh?
You see? Now I have to talk about soccer, although I'm much more interested in mosquito control. Mosquito control is a subject I could really talk about.
This is Figaro. So as I said, it was early. Still time till sundown. And I stood outside Figaro's shop, listening. I guess they didn't see me, Figaro and the young woman.
For the last time, Figaro, no haircut.
No haircut? You need a haircut.
In the AMEC where I work on the settlement, we have 2 sheep shearers.
Sheep shearers?
Who are the best? So if I need a haircut, who's better than our sheep shearers?
Who indeed?
If a sheep shearer can give a haircut to a sheep who wiggles all over the place, surely he can give a woman a haircut who sits still, no?
And art means nothing to you? Beauty?
Oh, art, beauty. A haircut is a haircut.
Is a woman a sheep? Look, sit down. We'll do an experiment.
Oh.
I'll give you a haircut, a Figaro special. If you don't like it when I'm finished, you'll be fair, mind you. Then you don't have to pay.
If I don't like it? Just if I don't like it?
Exactly. Money back guarantee.
All right. All right, I'll take a chance.
Ah, you girls who work in the AMEC, it takes all of a man's salesmanship to interest you.
Commence with the cutting. You talk too much.
Uh-huh. A little here, a lot there. In 15 minutes, you'll see a new woman. Oh.
What's the matter?
Look.
And, of course, Figaro was pointing at me.
It's too late. Rep Gabriel, the trumpet blower, the Sabbath.
Oh, no, there's time. I'm only standing here.
Oh, I thought all my talk would be wasted.
No. Go and cut. May I watch?
Oh, sure, watch. Only don't make a mistake and blow.
Oh, I love to watch an artist at work. Cut, Figaro, cut. Believe me, he transformed the lovely girl from the AMEC, and I walked on. Oh, you're wondering about the lateness. Well, I looked at the sun and my watch. Still time. Oh, a lovely day. Perfect for the Sabbath Eve. Already you could feel the presence of the Sabbath Queen drawing near. Almost.
Good evening, Rev Gabriel.
Good evening, Mrs. Asher. You're coming.
No, Rev Gabriel. I'm going.
With flowers in your hand, you're going?
Yes, I'm going to visit a friend.
Oh, I'm wrong. So you're not coming, you're going. Good Sabbath soon.
Good Sabbath soon.
Strolled around, out past the road, across the field, and I saw Yosef. Yosef was sitting in the field, just sitting. Yosef, the day laborer. And now we come to the real explanation of how the Sabbath was late. In a way, it was Yosef's fault. Well, in a way, this is how it happened. A very small digression, I assure you. You see, yesterday after work, Yusuf came home to his house, to his wife.
Yusuf! Yusuf! Oh, Yusuf, how did it go? So, how did it go?
Fine, Hannah. Great.
Fine. So tell me.
Well, we've got the finest work crew in all of Tel Aviv. Today we built nearly a third of a mile of road.
Oh, I was talking about building roads. How did it go?
Do I smell baked potatoes?
Yusuf, I'm waiting.
What have we got to eat?
I want to know about the painting. How did it go?
Oh, after supper, I'm tired.
Not a mouthful, not a speck. Tell me now.
All right. I went out. What's there to tell? All right. I didn't open the paint box.
Oh, a new set of paints he gets. A brand new easel. Canvases, 4 new brushes, 4 or 5. And he didn't open the box.
I couldn't.
You were tired, I suppose.
Well, I was tired.
You said it. You took the resolution, not me. You said after work each day, no matter how tired I am, an hour a day I will paint. Now, did I say it or did you?
I know, but...
So you were tired. And the resolution?
I was exhausted.
So Picasso was never tired. Rembrandt was always fresh as a daisy. Exhausted.
Look, you don't understand.
I understand. You're lazy. You don't work hard enough at it.
Hannah.
Oh, Yusuf. If you wouldn't try to conquer the world in a day, if you would take your time, work slowly, bite off only a piece of the earth a day.
Oh, Hannah.
My darling, paint. Paint poorly, paint badly, paint fair, but paint.
You're right.
I am right.
Yes, you're right. It's hard, but it's important. And it's hard to be an artist in Palestine where the light is so difficult to get just right. We have to study and paint after a day's work. But it's important. You're right.
Darling, you know what?
What?
Not only do we have baked potatoes for supper, but also heavy soup.
That was the beginning of the lateness. You remember how the Sabbath was 7 minutes late? Or rather, how I was. Well, the next day, Friday, which is the day in question, the day I was strolling round at the barber's and elsewhere, Yosef finished his work on the road, and with paints in hand, he set up his easel in the field, and it was there that I saw him. I coughed, twice even. But when an artist is composing, can a mere cough bring him back to earth? No, not even 2 coughs. He just continued to sit there and stare at his canvas. Well, I walked round behind him, you know, to see what he was painting. And guess what? A blank canvas, not a stroke painted.
Hello.
What's the matter?
Who said anything was the matter?
I said it.
Nothing's the matter.
Am I blind? Is that the beginning of a painting, or is that a blank canvas? How long have you been sitting there?
Who knows?
It's hard. I know.
Hard? It's like a rock. It's more than hard.
Don't exaggerate. Hard? Yes. More than hard? No.
Well, look at the scene.
Very nice. As for oils, excellent.
Can I paint it?
You can't. You're telling me you can't?
Look at it. What's that clump of trees?
Yes.
See?
Sure, I see.
But you see how the light changes it. First it's an even green, and then... Look how the yellow comes out now.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you wouldn't understand.
No, my boy, I understand a great deal. I'm 64 next month.
There are certain hours of the day, like right now, for instance, when the light is almost perfect. The sun is not too hot, and then you see the way it changes.
Oh.
The other times the sun glares so everything's blurred.
It's a difficult problem.
Worse than difficult. It's impossible.
Don't exaggerate. Difficult? Yes. No, I won't say it. No.
Still, I took a resolve to paint. I'll paint. My wife says I'm lazy.
Hannah? She's wrong.
No, she's right.
She's right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, she's right. So pack up and go home.
No, I'm going to paint.
So, you see, she's wrong.
Once I painted in France.
You're from France? Oh, great painters, the French.
I studied there as a young man.
Oh.
Then I came here. And now I've got to learn all over again. This landscape isn't France.
Why? Are the trees in France so different?
No, that's not it. But I feel I'm not able.
Oh, it's a common feeling.
No, not that. It's just that. Well, I sit here. The lovely clouds, the moving sand, the richness in the trees.
The way he says that.
I'm sitting with ghosts.
Ghosts?
Well, not that kind of ghost. But the greatest ghosts of all times. The presences of the great. Here, there, all around.
Huh? I must have missed them.
No, I mean... Well, look. Can you paint the Lake of Galilee like you paint any other lake?
You can't?
No.
What?
It's a lake. It's part of history. Some of the greatest events of all time happened there. It requires special care to paint it.
Oh, I see.
Or Mount Gilboa. You want to paint Mount Gilboa, where Israel met the Philistines in battle. You can't just paint it. You must understand it, feel it. It makes you humble in its presence.
It's a very high mountain, yes.
And Carmel. To the left is Carmel, see? There Elijah won against the prophets of evil.
Oh.
Can you paint Carmel just like that?
Oh, now I begin to understand.
That road. Maybe Jeremiah walked on that road. Maybe there he proclaimed his lamentations. A road, then, is not merely a path between two fields, huh? It's, well, you see what I mean?
Yes, my boy. I see. It's very difficult.
So I sit. Who am I to paint this greatness? I'm Yusuf, a road builder, a workman. Painting in the land of the foremost immortals in the world, and their shadows are all around me.
So, what do?
I sit. I don't even have my paint box.
But you will, Yusuf. You will.
I hope so.
Are you a writer?
No.
Nor a poet?
Why?
What you said before. I wouldn't exactly say poetry, but the way you said it. I said to myself, this man is an artist.
Thank you.
Now, wait. I didn't say this lightly. I'll tell you a secret. You wouldn't tell a soul.
What?
Promise. Oh, well, no, it's not so important you should promise. I'll trust you. In the old country, in Russia, when I was a boy, I wanted to be a painter.
Oh, is that so? Well?
So what happened? In a little village, where could a boy find paper to paint on and crayons to draw with? Especially the son of a father who drove a droshky.
You couldn't, huh?
I could, but I didn't. It was too hard. It was, like you said, more than hard.
So?
So instead, I, too, drove a droshky.
Oh, what a shame.
So when I said before, this man is an artist, I didn't say it lightly. I know. Believe me, I do understand.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, so if I didn't become an artist, at least to that... Oh, the sun.
What's the matter?
The time, my watch. It's late.
What's late?
It's 7 minutes late already. I'm 7 minutes late. The Sabbath.
No.
Stand still. Don't breathe. Now. So that's how it happened. That I was 7 minutes late for the Sabbath. That once. But never again, never. Even though many times since I've been out to watch Yosef paint, never have I missed the moment of sundown. How do I do it? Whenever I'm with him, I carry a little alarm clock in my pocket. I set it for 2 minutes before sundown. Then if we talk, or if I'm doing a little sketch, he lends me his pencil and sketch pad once in a while. Or if we get into a discussion, the clock rings and I'm ready on time. It's a difficult problem, I assure you. Sometimes, believe me, even more than difficult.
If you would like a copy of the script you have just heard, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Our Eternal Light story today was entitled How the Sabbath Was 7 Minutes Late in Tel Aviv, and was written by Arnold Pearl. Featured as Reb Gabriel was Edgar Staley. The music was composed by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Milton Cadens. Cantor David Futterman sang the liturgical introduction. The entire production was under the direction of Walter McGraw. If you would like a free copy of today's script, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. Free time has been given by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations to present this program in cooperation with the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
In Psalm 63, David said, My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips, when I remember thee upon my bed, and meditate on thee in the night watches. To help you focus your thoughts upon God at the close of this day, we bring you this devotional meditation from Morning and Evening by Charles Haddon Spurgeon, the great English preacher of the 19th century. This evening's meditation comes from Psalm 31 and verse 4. Pull me out of the net that they have laid privily for me, for thou art my strength. Our spiritual foes are of the serpent's brood, and seek to ensnare us by subtlety. The prayer before us supposes the possibility of the believer being caught like a bird. So deftly does the fowler do his work that simple ones are soon surrounded by the net. The text asks that even out of Satan's meshes the captive one may be delivered. This is a proper petition, and one which can be granted. From between the jaws of the lion and out of the belly of hell can eternal love rescue the saint. It may need a sharp pull to save a soul from the net of temptation, and a mighty pull to extricate a man from the snares of malicious cunning. But the Lord is equal to every emergency, and the most skillfully placed nets of the hunter shall never be able to hold his chosen ones. Woe unto those who are so clever at net-laying, They who tempt others shall be destroyed themselves. For thou art my strength. What an inexpressible sweetness is to be found in these few words. How joyfully may we encounter toils, and how cheerfully may we endure sufferings, when we can lay hold upon celestial strength. Divine power will rend asunder all the toils of our enemies, confound their politics, and frustrate their knavish tricks. He is a happy man who has such matchless might engaged upon his side. Our own strength would be of little service when embarrassed in the nets of base cunning. But the Lord's strength is ever available. We have but to invoke it, and we shall find it near at hand. If by faith we are depending alone upon the strength of the mighty God of Israel, we may use our holy reliance as a plea in supplication. Lord, evermore thy face we seek. Tempted we are, and poor and weak. Keep us with lowly hearts and meek. Let us not fall. Let us not fall. This meditation was taken from Morning and Evening by C.H. Spurgeon. Please listen each evening at this same time for Morning and Evening.